Hi, this is Scott Bradfield. This is the last week of our short story writing course for City Lit online, and I hope it's been worthwhile for you. It's a different experience for me than teaching in a classroom, but it has its advantages and disadvantages, as we've discussed. I'm not going to say too much today because I want us to really focus on our last workshops and our round-robin story exercise. And I'm really happy so far with this round-robin exercise. And I'll try to explain to you what I'm trying to help you see. Short stories are not, as I've tried to tell you, about having some vision of a story and knowing what it's all about and knowing how it ends, the anxiety that all of my students seem to have most strongly when they write. They often tell me, well, they don't know how to start the story because they don't know how it ends. Most of us don't know how the story ends when we write short stories. And even if we do have some rough idea of where it's going to end, it doesn't, as you see when we write the round-robin story, it doesn't always go where you expect it's going to go. The most important part of writing a story is to start somewhere with a person and an interest and a trajectory. They're going somewhere. They're heading towards something. And if you have a character who wants something or who is looking for something, you've got your story started. And they're going to start to help you find your way. You need to keep the story narrative, as we've been saying each week. So we have to watch things happen. We need to see those things happen through the point of view of your character. We can't just say lots of things. And that's all I've been trying to show you this week, and I will show you next week, is when you tell us lots of things are happening, and try to tell us all the different things that have happened, you're losing the sense of the story. You're shoving in lots of information again, you're shoving in lots of ideas, and you're not listening to the beat of the story. And the beat of the story is in the sentences, as things happen, and in the paragraphs, which organize larger sets of events. So it could be a person saying something, and the next paragraph could be another person replying. The paragraph shifts the parameters of the story, shifts our sense of the direction of the story a bit, and a lot can happen in a paragraph, and very little can happen in a paragraph, but you need to look at how that paragraph works, what happens in it, and don't shove in that extra material. There's only so much you can do in a story. You can't do everything you want to do, I promise you. You will never do all the things you think you want to do. And what you need to start to see is, as you write each paragraph of a piece of fiction, the fiction starts to find its own way. It starts to have its own life. And that's the most fun part of writing a story or writing a novel, as I've told you. It's when you start to feel the story taking you in a certain direction. You've created a character who makes their own decisions for themselves. That's point of view. They decide what they want, and they decide what they need, and you can't tell them what you want them to want, and you can't tell them what you want them to need. You have to listen to them and let them go. And it's the fun part of a story, is it starts to make its own sense. You have to remain narrative, you have to remain consistent in your point of view, and you have to remember that scenes have beginnings, middles, and ends, that they come to a conclusion, and that another scene starts later. You don't need to tell everything that happens from one scene to another. So that's all I'm trying to focus on in the round-robin exercises. You're doing great so far. I think almost every one of you has got narrative stuff in everything they've written. We're just trying to pull out and make it as narrative as possible. Again, as you're starting to see as the story develops, you can't do everything you want to do. We have a point of view established. You're not going to be able to get outside of that. It's heading in a certain direction. You can't go backwards. You can't flash back unless it takes you further into the story. So you have to start thinking forward, and your limitations. You're starting to get limitations in what you can do with the story. And that's why it becomes easier as you get into a story. The ending is tricky. The ending is always a tricky bit, but we need to just be patient. And if you get the middle, if you get the beginning and middle of a story, it may take a while, but you will find the ending. And as I've said, I've written stories over the years that, I'd get the beginning and the middle of the story, and I enjoyed the story up through the middle, and even though I didn't know where it was going to end, I knew I would finish it, because the main part is to have that story. The beginning and the middle, the character, they're going somewhere, they want something, and how it resolves and how it finds its resolution is sometimes a bit of a mystery, and you'll have to find your way. Sometimes a short story ending comes like that, and sometimes, as I've said, and any writer will tell you, it could take years. And I've had many stories where I've taken many years to finish a story. There's limits within. You have freedom in writing a story. Your first story, your first sentence, you're totally free. You can start off on Mars. You can start off underwater. You can start off on top of the BT Tower, if you'd like. You can start in this room, in my living room. Any story can start anywhere, but then it starts to have limitations, and you start to follow the rules you've established. And you have to make them narrative and keep them as narrative moments. And if that's all I can teach you this term, I feel like that's all I can teach you. So that's really it for this term. We'll try to work through the exercises in class. Write every day, without hope, without despair. Write narratively, so write one scene after another. Don't write notes. Don't write lots of ideas for stories, because ideas mean nothing. As you all I'm sure know by now, having an idea for a story means nothing if you don't have that opening moment, that opening scene, and you have a character. So write every day, write fiction every day, read good fiction every day if you want to get better. If you want to just have fun, just write and enjoy yourselves. But if you want to write stories that other people want to read, you need to learn what you want to read and what you enjoy reading. Okay? Okay, I think I've told you everything I know. That's pretty much it. And now it's just sitting down and working with the stories as you're writing them, trying to recognize where you're slipping, where you're making the common mistakes, because most of us make just common, obvious mistakes. And if you make a wrong turn in a story, you backtrack to where it was working, and you start over again. All right? That's it. Have a great writing life, and hopefully I'll keep in touch with you through further courses or emails. Let me know how you're doing, and take Course City at Lit's got some wonderful classes out there. They're very reasonable. I'm not saying this because I have no vested interest, but you can always take more City Lit courses or take them anywhere you feel comfortable. And you might even want to keep in touch with one another on email, because you're all doing a good job of reading each other's work. And I always feel students make the class, and you guys are good readers. So keep at it. All right. Take care. Bye.